Kachinda, it's a pleasure to host you in Costa, and good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mansa. Thank you very much, and good evening to our viewers.
10 months before an election, Zambians obviously are looking towards who to vote for, whether they will return the UPND if they are happy with their performance, or would rather choose to vote them out if they're not happy with the way things stand. But many citizens hang in balance. They feel confused, especially with the status quo of what is happening within the PF as an opposition. Kindly paint a picture for us. What is the current status quo of PF as a party?
Well, the status quo, for PF as a political party is that in terms of the membership across the country and the leadership, we are intact, save for the fact that, where they are human beings, there could be one or two issues that you constantly have to clarify, iron out, and sometimes, we have to, also being a democratic political party, tolerate divergence views within the party. A very vibrant political party. The only challenge that we, need to resolve is a challenge that is emanating from some of the issues that are before court. I heard you talking about the fact that we did reconcile with Honorable Mao Sampa, arising from the event he hosted in 2023 on the 24th of October. And that reconciliation obviously saw the light of day in court by way of a concert judgment. But I think prior to that, when that event happened, we went to court to have that dispute resolved. And the Patriotic Front, obviously, is the largest opposition political party in view of our representation in Parliament, our representation at local government level in terms of mayors and council chairpersons and councillors across the country. It is expected that in public interest that the matter of Patriotic Front would have been prioritized. But this is 2 years down the line. The simple question, which even a kid on the street would answer, of whether that event of the 24th of October 2023 was legal or legally, constituted to eventually be, said to be a conference that can elect, a president. That has been the simple question through and through.
Yeah. But as that may be, Honorable Nakachinda, that is water under the bridge. You've been on many fora saying that convention of Mao Sampa was illegal. You've explained now that you've reconciled. But for the sake of time and the people, what's the way forward?
Well, the way forward is that it's twofold. Remember that before President Lungu passed, there was a pronouncement, which pronouncement we've continued to carry around Plan B, because whilst we still reserve some iota of faith that we are restraining ourselves to conclude that the Mingarat of UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema could pronounce on the copper belt, and seemingly allegations of collaboration between the judiciary and the UPND in relation to PF matters. While we're restraining to make that conclusion, there is a very high temptation to begin to agree with those who have suggested that you never, see justice from the judiciary. That question can't be ignored. It has to be probed further, because if the judiciary is compromised to that extent, then it means our society is in trouble. It's not just about PF.
But with your experience, and I refer to you with your experience, this is not the first time that such a thing is happening. You were in the MMD, and these battles, when we had the Nevers Mumba and the Mutati faction, it dragged. And look at where the MMD is now. And so if your assertions or allegations are correct, that the UPND is colluding with the judiciary. You make these allegations. Surely, as politicians, you promised us that you were going to work your way around this. That was your call. Now, Plan B is dead. What next?
No. I think you're mistaken to suggest that Plan B is dead.
Well, President Edgar Lungu is dead, and we were told he will be on the ballot, come rain, come sunshine. So Plan B is dead. You're not giving us a way forward.
No. I think you put it in the correct context. President Lungu were vowing that he'll be on the ballot because, obviously, within the framework of Plan B, had he been alive, that is the direction we're taking. The compromise and what we seemingly is the assault on the judiciary, we were pushing to make sure that that is corrected. Now that President Lungu is no longer alive, the question of eligibility obviously falls. That is the context within which the issue of the ballot was being discussed. The issue of PF is a separate matter. But since you're asking a question in relation to say what's the way forward, the way forward, obviously, you know that for almost a year, from October 2023, we saw that all institutions of government had been, prepped up to work against the Patriotic Front in participating by elections. We had to then find a special purpose vehicle, in this case, NCP, under Tonse, to which who could say Patriotic Front was participating through NCP, because the human resource, the processes of adopting candidates, identifying candidates, mainly have been from PF members. And we have even won, by-elections at parliamentary level and local government level using that special purpose vehicle. But, of course, that was done with the hope that we'll be able to resolve the issue of Patriotic Front. With what happened on Friday, which is shocking for everybody, and I want to believe even yourself, and those who are watching this interview, are shocked that we can have a situation where the judiciary can see that the democracy is under assault, and this matter needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. The only thing is that I must correct that the decision on Friday was not, refusing to endorse the consent judgment. When the consent judgment was lodged, there was an application from, Chavinga Group to try and join. And then after they were allowed to be joined, there was a preliminary matter which was raised by, Patriotic Front in relation to the same question, whether or not Chavinga could even be given locus on the basis that it's just a product of an illegal, convention. So the ruling was basically to say the judge wants to hear the substance of the matter, not decide to determine the fate of this case on the basis of a preliminary matter.
Well, with that clarity given, that the ruling was because the Chavinga Group had applied for a joiner, if that's what you're saying, or to be joined into the matter.
Yes.
And that's what the judge wants to determine.
Yeah.
Probably you're saying you would rather that this case is speeded up and not dragged. But
it's a reasonable demand from the Zambian people.
Yeah, but
the court can't begin to play a game that seems to favor the ruling party.
Those are the assertions that you make. But asking on behalf of the Zambian people, and this is what I asked you earlier, if you claim that you have reconciled with the Miles Sampa group, why then has it become difficult to bring to order Mr. Chavinga, who also is moving around, parading himself as a party president? He is sitting in parliament as the leader of the opposition. And then these are the questions I'm asking. 10 months before an election, how do people hold you credible as the largest opposition that could unite a country, run a country, if you can fail to unite yourselves?
I think we give it to us that the principal players, in this case, we have been able to...
But you have failed to bring to order Chavinga.
Wow, that's a secondary process. But the only assurance I can give to you and to the Zambian people is that we're engaged in wider consultations on what will be the best way to move in the next few days. Definitely we're going to be making pronouncements on what will be the way forward. The issue of Patriotic Front, that one is a given. We'll pursue it. But the issue of filling up the vacancy or vacuum that the UPN are trying to create so that they can face the elections of 2026 without, proper opposition, that will not guarantee.
Well, is it fair to point a finger and blame the UPND of being the ones responsible for your internal disagreements and confusion? Mr. Chabinga is a party member of yours. He's an MP in Mafinga and a PF. He's not a UPND member. So as Secretary General, if you fail to rally your own people, why blame the UPND?
No. I think unless you fail to just analyze the issues, regardless of me sitting here, I want to believe, Mr. Costa, with you being a veteran broadcaster and you have been able to deal with us politicians for many years, you know that Chabinga is just being given, this relevancy by UPND. It's not a factor. To even suggest that there's confusion in Patriotic Front because of Chabinga is failing to analyze what is going on.
So you're denying that he's not part of the problem? I mean, even now, the court delayments are part of that.
Yeah, the problem is not Chabinga. Chabinga is just a tool. The problem is the UPND and Mr. Kaindechirem. He is the one, who has even publicly carried Chabinga around. He's the one who was in Kasama saying, we quite almost. So just
but this is what I was asking. This is what I was asking. Mr. Chabinga was brought by Mr. Malsampa.
No. You should have paid attention to the details. Chabinga was at State House with Mr. Kaindechirem, celebrating independence on the 24th of October 2023. Whilst Malsampa was saying he's holding a retreat.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter, Honorable SG, is that Mr. Chabinga, as an appointee to be leader of opposition, that appointment was done by Malsampa.
Yes, at the time that the UPND had taken...
So he's a creation out of Malsampa.
Wow, that is not disputed, but he is a creation of Malsampa, possibly by imposition, because from State House, straight he went to congratulate Malsampa on that activity. And for the first time, we had ZNBC beaming live an activity they were calling a Conference of Patriotic Front. Prime TV beaming live at a conference they were calling Patriotic Front, which was first of all called a retreat. And the whole event was protected. Police officers, that were being coordinated from State House were sent and deployed at that event, to make sure that there's no disruption, everything goes according to their plan. Even Malsampa himself, if you talk to him today, he lost control of that whole process. It became a UPND project. And that's how come in the reconciliation we have learned more of what this whole grand plan was. Initially,
in short, and like
you must understand that life is such that there are people who are not as strong to be able to, succumb. They will easily succumb to the pressure, whether blackmail or otherwise. But I think what we need to focus is the future moving forward, because the UPND are determined to stay in power, regardless of their, lack of, their failure to, fulfill their promises, their failure to govern this country. And of course, we all live in the same environment. The level of frustration and agitation and tension in the nation is so high that today, 2 days ago, I was at Samoa. Some women just drove and came packing and came out of the car. Banakachita, please, us on the ground, we are already resolved. We can't continue living like this. Can we find a solution around this whole situation?
But granted that people are going through a high cost of living, granted that people are going through load shedding, granted that the country has, high fuel prices, but still, you, the opposition, are not offering any alternative in terms of how you're going to come and fix these problems. And this is why I ask you a question tonight. How do the people, in fact, these people that you call frustrated, are even more frustrated with you because, first of all, you failed to put former President Edgar Lungu to rest. It's now 3 months plus. You have failed to unite yourselves to give us, to say this is the leader we're going to rally around, and this is either a Tonse or an NCP or a PF manifesto 2026 to 2031. There's no blueprint, Honorable Nakachinda. So are you going to ride on the fact that the UPND has failed and people should come? Who are they going to vote for? if there's an alternative?
Well, the alternative, first of all, is there.
Who?
We are not bankrupt in terms of leadership.
Which
we may
alternative?
not have zeroed in on one, but I can assure you that in terms of the crop of leaders that we have in Patriotic Front, in Tonse, and we're also extending to generally the opposition, you can't say.
Isn't that a failure of leadership? That for so long, 10 months to an election, you are still battling to identify, which brings me to this Tonse confusion that we saw last week. Sean Tembo, Brian Munduwile, KBF, and Mumbi Piri sitting with Mr. Zumani Zimba, the former political secretary to President Lungu, announcing a list of council elders, which you called bluff and you said it was illegal. Why all this confusion? It's a failure of leadership.
So maybe to classify what you're saying, failure of leadership, may actually be the fact that we are confident that the set of leaders that we have are such that, first of all, they carry the wisdom, experience, the qualification and competence that if presented even in the next 3 months, 4 months, they can be sold and gain the confidence of the Zambian people. Because generally all of us are known by the Zambian people. All of us are known what we are capable of doing, looking at our track record of performance in government. The issue that you are asking is supposed to be specific in relation to at what point are you going to then present a president. But if you're talking about the organization, that's a different subject. The organization here speaks to the fact that the platform has been challenged because of these Mingalatos. And we could not have had locus to elect a leader before we resolve the PF issue.
Are you also blaming the UPND for the confusion in Tonse?
No. Now, ask a specific question.
I've asked a specific question. Let me ask it to you specifically. Yeah. What are the problems? Why do we have divergent voices in Tonse? Because when that meeting happened, it was disrupted. You came out and spoke that the only appointed person to speak on behalf of the alliance was either yourself or acting President Lubinda. But why do we have divergent voices speaking? Peter Chanda is speaking, Sean Tembo is speaking, Zumani Zimba is speaking, and we have this list being released told was left by Edgar Lungu.
There's a Bemba saying that maybe you being Bemba also would appreciate that if you see, I don't know what name, animal can use, but, you see some animals fighting. They may not be fighting if there's nothing valuable there, okay? The only reason why Patriotic Front is under so much attack and there is this crumble for relevance and so on is because there is value in Patriotic Front. The Zambian people have realized that the condemnation which led to voting PF out was not justified because of the heavy propaganda of UPND. And the Arebu message has sunk so deep in the hearts of the Zambian people, and they're just demanding, please, can you sort your house in order?
Maybe, Honorable Nakachinda, you have been in opposition for so long that you're living in an illusion of thinking that there's value in the PF. The people out there, the would-be voters in 10 months, are saying they would rather some abstain from voting if they're not happy with what's going on because they don't see any alternative, any seriousness in the opposition. And you think there's value when there's no candidate? You see there's no value when there's no message being preached on how the cost of living will be reduced? There's no message from you being preached on how Zambians will have power? There's no message from you being preached on how you will improve the day-to-day lives? You're just infighting. That's the value you bring?
No. If you had structured the interview, from asking me about, the confusion of Tonse and so on, because I have to answer your questions. If you asked me a question about what are the alternatives, I will be able to now articulate about the manifesto of Patriotic Front that was prepared between 2021 to 2026, and some of the areas that may be required to be reviewed. And we are setting up a committee under the research department of the party to be able to look at our manifesto, get input from academia, and also do some consultations on the ground. Those are matters that are behind the scenes before we can avail the manifesto. But we have these challenges that we've been dealing with, and they have they have taken center stage because of the fact that they are prominent. They are in court. We are in court. We have these Tonse teething issues that we're dealing with. And you are doing a good job to probe answers around this confusion. But you can't ask me, while I'm explaining the issue of the challenges we are faced, and then say, you're not sending a message. The Zambian people at the moment, whilst they want to hear alternatives, but I can tell you that they heard so many alternative lies from UPND that they're not interested to have another politician telling them all manner of stories.
I'm sorry to tell you, and I'll keep on hitting on this, that the Zambian people are not interested in you fighting amongst each other.
Yes.
The Zambian people are more interested in seeing that President Edgar Lungu is put to rest and you put your house in order and begin to preach an alternative of how to better their lives. Don't you think that's the interest of the Zambians?
Okay, so let me deal with the two issues you have raised. We are, consulting. When you refer to the press briefing I had a few days ago, I said the Zambian people want to see a united Tonse alliance. They want to see, by extension, a united opposition. And as the main and biggest political party in opposition, Patriotic Front, we are going to engage in processes behind the scenes to be able to make sure we minimize this unfortunate development where people are donating to themselves locals to do things which they don't have. I don't want to start discussing personalities here because it actually goes against the principles of what we are doing in the background. But unity, we are determined with everything to make sure that we unite the opposition front, we unite Tonse. And some processes possibly concluded the next day or two. The alternative after the Friday ruling, obviously this weekend, we are engaged into all manner of consultations among and within PF and outside. That at least I can disclose. And we're hoping that in the next few days some pronouncement will be made so that the issue of the platform, which I think the many Zambians are afraid of, are concerned about, will be able to be resolved. The next phase, you're asking about, putting to rest our beloved sixth Republican president. We chose, as Patriotic Front, to stand with the family. We are glad that now the doors of renegotiating the process to burial have reopened. Before, maybe about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, the negotiations were made very difficult because of the political commentaries that were coming from our friends who are in government that suggested there was no sincerity around certain commitments that were made. Among the issues that led to the death of President Lungu Costa were that when he came back to active politics, he came to fight for his party. He made it very clear that I can't sit home watching democracy being assaulted by having the main opposition political party taken over by a ruling party in the manner they did. And then issues of judiciary, issues of parliament, issues of institutions of government, registry of society, ECZ, and all those issues that all of us are agreed, general in Zambia, that the ECZ of today, we can't have confidence that it will be able to deliver free and fair elections. The judiciary, we're just saying, what has happened? You're actually trying to even force us to accept that we will not get justice from there.
But then,
Parliament and all those things.
But then,
so,
all these matters have been made extremely clear on both ends, and I think
if I landed a bit,
all of you have done an extremely good job in trying to explain these positions.
I think I can shake your hand. At least we've been able to provide checks and balances.
Not checks and balances on this issue of. The stance of President Lungu and what he stood for and how he felt.
Yeah.
But surely, for how long are we going to use his body for political grandstanding? Shouldn't the man be put to rest?
Well, I think that question squarely rests on the laps of the UPND and their president, because they're the ones who clearly wanted to try and politic around the funeral. Because the demands of the family were just simple. This man, for these number of years and months, you treated him like a nobody, and everything he has gone through is in public domain. even for him to access medical attention, he had to, travel in a manner that really showed that government didn't care, because several times he attempted to travel, you refused. Now he has died. You want to then claim the honor of saying you want to give him a dignified, befitting, funeral, while your cadres and everybody, even in his death, are mocking him. We want just to say, can the ABC, this one and this one, may be restrained from wanting to be overzealous to try and become chief mourners. And let this gentleman who privately looked after up to his death come back privately. Obviously, having been president, there will be other friends of his who are sitting president who want to mourn. At that particular point, there are protocols that can never be denied, whether by convention of SADC or any other. When those heads of state come, the government can move in. Obviously, the protocols extended. So a simple request of that nature, which you can refer, for example, when Mugabe died.
So in the background of this happening, you're saying you're confident now that renegotiations have opened, and,
yes.
and we hope that President Lungu could be put to rest.
And I must clear, the family to President Lungu has never at any time demanded that activities of Patriotic France will be halted on the basis of the funeral. The only thing is that morally, culturally, that's our father, that's our leader, who has not yet put to rest.
Morally,
to that effect,
morally and culturally, you've respected that, and this is my next question.
Yeah.
There are some who are feeling and who have begun to come out, apologizing to the family that the party must go on, civic leadership and governance must go on, despite what is happening in the background.
Yeah.
Is this the reason now that we're seeing this confusion that I was referring to from last week? I want you to be very specific in commenting about this so-called list or council of leaders that was released last week, because from the time you were in South Africa, I think you've had interviews on Diamond being asked whether there were specific people that were anointed or a specific list. How do you govern Tonse and the PF? I believe that politics should be a democracy. Should it be a list coming from somebody who is deceased that you should then follow? Is your party a monarchy structure?
It is, first of all, it is morally wrong, culturally wrong to try and put words in the mouth of the deceased. That's the starting point. But maybe let me just remind you and remind the viewers. Tonse is an alliance. They are political parties that are members to Tonse. Okay, PEP is one of them. PF is one of them. NCP is one of them. Dr. Dan Pule's party is one of them, and many other political parties.
Is the Socialist Party still part of the Tonse?
No, they made an application, but at some point when certain things emerged and were making inquiries, they were gracious enough to withdraw the application.
So they are no longer members of the Tonse?
They were never members. They just expressed interest.
Is Zambia must prosper with Kelvin Walefu a member of Tonse Alliance?
Of course, he did express through his Secretary General, and I think himself attending one of the meetings where we were discussing the governance of Tonse. But when he was to be, received, which is basically the protocol of Tonse, he was not available to be received. But obviously, by virtue of the fact that he had accepted to be part of it, we've seen colleagues consult him and sometimes call him maybe to some caucus meetings, like the meeting that they called. We saw that he attended the meeting. So by implication, or technically, is basically a member. And the Tonse is not a closed shop. It's a movement of the people. That's how come membership is not just restricted to political parties. Even other civil society organizations and others who have been willing are part of Tonse. Now, coming to the issue of the list, I was just saying that political parties and organizations, it's not individual. Of course, we have eminent persons, but political parties come as a body, and they don't lose their sovereignty, if that's a word to use. Those political parties are expected to govern themselves. So if they are slots that are created by virtue of our rules for each political party, because there was a matrix used to determine membership. It is the political party that is expected to deploy. So in this case, the first person to have been deployed in Tonse was President Edgar Chagwa, who was also pronounced, even by our governing documents, to be the chair and flag bearer of Tonse in 2026. And remember, when we went into Tonse, we were coming from UCA, and there were challenges in UCA in terms of how PF would fit into the alliance. For PF, we did consult the Zambian people and different stakeholders and came up with rules of engagement, 14 rules of engagement, one of which was saying, being the largest opposition political party, we're going to be the anchor of any alliance.
So with that, one of those rules of engagement, would it be correct to say that as Tonse, members are not equal on the table? PF has a larger stake and share on what you've said.
Yes, by virtue of the demographics as they stand today.
So you consider others as minor members, political parties. But is there equality on that table if you say PF, by virtue of its membership of MPs and its stature, you bulldoze the other political parties?
You're using wrong words.
What words should I use?
You can't say bulldoze. Each individual person and organization is important. And the value they bring to the table is determined by many factors. There are people whose political party, for example, is there, it is registered, but there may just be 6 in that political party.
And so what does your governing documentation say in terms of the equality? Do you consider these equal?
Well, not in the sense that you're trying to present it. There's a matrix that was created, which was accepted by everybody, which determined how many members, for example, a political party will be able to, deploy to be in the Council of Leaders. And by virtue of that matrix, it gives the major political party, Patriotic Front, a bigger alliance share. And it is correct because the template, the platform and the machinery for which the opposition generally, including Tonse, as things sit today, that they will depend on to defeat UPND, is the machinery of Patriotic Front.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. Still on this list, you as Secretary General of one of the PF factions and spokesperson of the Tonse Alliance, alongside the acting president, Given Lubinda, are being accused of rather being the ones sort of blocking or stifling progress to be made into announcing a preferred leader or really putting things together. Hence, this meeting that was called last week to really bring out the list that you've been aware of for a long time. There are further allegations that probably you have your own preferred candidate that you're trying to prop up that is not acceptable to the party.
Well, that's pure malice. I was just trying to say that the individual political parties are the ones that deploy. How is it that, for example, there could be a list with 90% of members on that list are PF members, but that list is not with Edgar Lungu? So,
of course,
it's not with acting President Rubinda, it's not with Secretary General Nakachinda, but it is with Sean Tembo, who leads another political party.
No, actually, I want to ask you this question.
How can Sean Tembo have the power?
I asked you about the membership. Sean Tembo, at one point in Tonse, I believe, was a spokesperson. Now, wasn't he?
Yeah, at one point was
he was a
spokesperson only to announce that which is collectively agreed.
And so now we are told that Mr. Zumani Zimba, who served under President Lungu's administration as political advisor, we are told he was also part of the masterminds of this Tonse Alliance and these rules of engagement you're talking about, advising President Lungu. He's the one who came with this list. How come you were not aware of this list?
That is the bigger question.
Now I'm asking you, then there's confusion.
So are you suggesting that Zuman was running PF on...
I'm asking you, he says he was part of the machinery or the brains behind the Tonse movement.
The Tonse movement, and that Tonse movement, in this case, which has PF as the anchor political party, and PF, the anchor political party, has Zumani have authority over and above President Lungu, Zumani have authority over and above the current leadership?
He is saying this list he is aware of because it came from President Lungu. So how do you place or position Mr. Zumani as a consultant? He's been speaking when you were in South Africa at the funeral house that he would be clearing people. He's been attending these meetings. You do not know him?
I mean, don't mix things. I mean, if somebody goes and imposes at the funeral to say, I want to clear people at the gate, how does that translate into having authority to appoint people?
Isn't he recognized as a consultant within the alliance?
We are talking of people appointed from a recognized organization called PF. What locus does Zumani have to appoint people in PF? What locus does Sean Tembo have, who is a leader of PEP, to appoint people in PF? And PF has its own procedure.
To appoint in PF, probably not, but what about in Tonse?
No, these are members of PF. You know, if you go, you have an a media owners, association, okay? I don't think the structure, if you have to deploy anybody from Diamond TV to represent the organization on that umbrella body, that Mr. Chavula Oscar from Hot FM will come and appoint someone in your organization. How does that work? Yes, you may belong to the organization, I mean to the umbrella organization, but you reserve the right to deploy those who are your member or members of staff to represent you in whichever body that you are. So this whole thing in itself, smells, an attempt for divide and rule.
So the question, the question, Honorable Nakachinda, is describe for us tonight, what is the current status then of this Tonse Alliance? Who is the current chairperson? And it seems there's just a lot of confusion.
That's why I'm saying that if you had given us a chance, and I would want to beg you, you're probing me to preempt. The facts around the governing of Tonse are clear for everybody to understand, and if they mean well, to follow.
And you can't tell the Zambian people tonight?
I mean, I've already said that PF in Tonse...
I've asked a very simple question. You can't answer me. Who is the chairperson of Tonse and what is the current structure of Tonse now?
The acting chairperson of Tonse, as we sit now, is Honorable Given Wind.
Okay.
In the absence of President Lungu, who was the chairperson by virtue of being president of the anchor political party and now led, the vice president, who has assumed the position of acting president of PF, now is in situ as acting chairman of Tonse. When PF has resolved this leadership issue by way of going to the conference, the one who becomes president automatically is supposed to take the position of chair of Tonse. What has been a little bit challenging is maybe the distortion in terms of information, which I think we're trying to
And what
resolve.
is your role in Tonse?
I'm Secretary General.
Of PF and Tonse. And is that an agreed, a known and accepted position across board by members like PEP, NCP and Z?
Yes, the pronouncement, the appointment and the ratification of the position of Secretary General was made by President Lungu in the Council of Leaders. What was supposed to have been done, which eventually we came to discover through the revelation of the lawyer who helped us to put up, to reconcile the rules of engagement and the terms of reference, that there was unfortunate at some point when the documents were being worked on by the technical people, where Zumana and the rest were part, that when the document was communicated in PDF, there was a request that it be put in Word, and there was some alterations in the document.
You dribbled your own selves from PDF to Word. Already we can see that you're not a trusted group of people.
So, but as it were, there are people who believe that politics are dirty and therefore they justify their action as politics. I think we need to gravitate towards doing decent things, because we are seeking to govern a people at the highest level of being in government, regardless of the position, president or otherwise. So those are matters which I think are being resolved behind the scene. I've only gone to that extent to highlight that we know the problem and will resolve the problem. I want to assure the Zambian people, Tonse will not die. Yes, there are people that are determined out of maybe sheer desire to be relevant or jostling or manipulating their way to maybe ascend to be chairman. But we should not reach a point where the end justifies the means, even if the means killing Tonse.
So clarify one thing, because and I'm asking on behalf of the public, there have been talks about a general conference. Is this conference for PF or Tonse? I just want to get clarity. Or does it mean that once the PF goes for a conference and chooses a leader, then automatically Tonse has a leader?
The general talk of the conference is a PF conference, which is supposed to resolve the issue of leadership in Tonse. But after the death of the former president, to which everybody was ready to pay homage and say he's a candidate and so on, even after he was declared ineligible, people still went there. And I can tell you, we have been in this game for a long time. You can even tell some of them it was out of opportunism, because they were hoping at some point he would succumb and say, I need to anoint somebody. So people were patronizing around whatever. The moment he died, the true colors of individuals around Tonse and other places, we could see the true colors manifesting, some of which were beginning to threaten that they may be destructive. But we're already here. Some of the people who are being destructive, maybe we just need to sit them down more. Some of them require prayers. Some of them require...
You're still not answering my question. Yeah. We are 10 months to an election.
Yes.
And we've heard some of your members say we're going for a general conference.
Yes.
Is this a PF conference or a Tonse conference?
If you paid attention to what I said it's a PF conference, which is supposed to resolve the issue of leadership in Tonse. But I was saying in elaborately...
You deviated.
Yeah, but when President Lungu died and these problems began to manifest, we saw that some people are beginning to be resistant. We challenged as PF, under the chairmanship of Honorable Winda, and the colleagues from PF and the colleagues from other political parties, as Council of Leaders of PF, we sat and said, if the governing documents and the rules of engagements are becoming a problem, don't start fighting on the streets and going to the papers and say that's not disputing things which are in black and white. Come to the table and say, we think now this is becoming a challenge. And we are tasked, I can review to you that we did, give an assignment to State Council Chifumbanda, Honorable Makebi Zulu, Councilor Ongola, to start looking at the document and receiving submissions from all member organizations to be able to see how best we can realign the governing documents. Before those things
after the death of President Lungu?
Yeah, that is after the death of President Lungu, because we began to see that people were being resistant and trying to...
But with what you're explaining, is the position correct then to say, for you, because of the stature of PF, the candidate of PF as president automatically will be the flag bearer for Tonse?
That is what is in text today.
So what, back to my then original question, how then have these rules defined what role NCP, what role PEP, what role ZMP will play then? Apart from the fact that there's the chairman that is attributed to the anchor political party, the mechanism in terms of coming up with other portfolio holders, that is a matter that we were working on. Actually, I remember at some point, Honorable Aki Mulusa being asked with a small committee, how do we structure Tonse? He had come up with what he called a lean cabinet. I think he misunderstood the assignment. He was told, no, that's not what you assigned to undertake. It's not about creating a cabinet. It's about structuring Tonse. And then that structure will fit into the matrix on how many members will allocate to PF. And when the members are allocated to PF, PF will then go to Central Committee. We don't know the procedures of other political parties. Maybe somebody just sits in their kitchen and they announce. But for us, we go to Central Committee. These are the numbers that have been allocated to us, and the portfors are ABCD. So to be forthright, the Tonse candidate will automatically have to come from PF?
If we stick to what is there today, the one who is elected from PF automatically becomes the candidate.
So, as Secretary General of this PF grouping, when are you going for this conference to choose a leader? And there have also been questions that you have a historical exercise that you started as PF when President Lungu had left, of people you made to pay to contest presidency. What will happen?
Yeah. So first of all, the ruling on Friday, the 3rd, was basically going to impact on the roadmap we have already made. The roadmap was that on or before the month of November, we should have resolved the leadership issue within Patriotic Front. Now we have this development, and I've said that we're using this weekend to be able to consult. And yes, I may be Secretary General, but I can't start preempting the decisions that is supposed to be made collectively. So that aspect will be dealt with. But going to the convention, in principle, is already dealt with. We need the input of our legal team to be able to look at certain permutations, so that when we are making the final decisions, we are sound at law, that will be done. The Central Committee will be called in a few days after this process of consultation, and we have legal input to which a final decision will be made in terms of the date. The roadmap has already been, like I said, put in place. We have even appointed a 7-member team that is preparing for the conference. We have also appointed a 5-member team or 4-member team led by Honorable Winda that is basically going to engage the family in South Africa to basically just brief them on the issue of succession, because this is a position that was held by the late who has not yet been put to rest. Not that they are demanding to be briefed, but out of the respect and honor of the late and the family being the one carrying the heavy burden of hosting the funeral and dealing with legal matters around the burial and so on. I think it's just important that as a political party we engage them. And I was given an assignment last time when we had Central Committee before last, and I had the honor and privilege to engage the family, our mother, the widow, and the children, those artists who were present, and other stakeholders within the family, to discuss the electoral calendar which had been released and some of the steps that are required for us to undertake. And outside the funeral, they also believe that it will be a great betrayal to ECL if we drop the ball, because ECL's coming back to active politics and participating up to his death was to make sure that the opposition is properly organized and we win the election of 2026, because our friends, according to his determination, were taking the country in the wrong direction, and now it's evident to everybody. So personally, having also been privileged to be in close proximity to the president, I am fully persuaded that if we fail to do what is necessary to unite ourselves now and play the noble role of reaching out to colleagues and say, please, let's whip ourselves in the right direction, and we use every wisdom mechanism available to reconcile and focus on what really matters, not only for President Lungu, but the Zambian people. And those are the efforts we're making this weekend.
You say it so well, but the reality on the ground, unfortunately, is different. If I analyze the court cases, I analyze the disagreements from the party, I analyze the disagreements in the alliance, and I'll keep on saying that an election is coming very close. Are you very confident that we will have a united opposition with a leader soon?
The need to refocus the country with the damage that has been occasioned now by UPND compels everybody and each one of us to rise above personal interest. Because if our interests will be destructive to the unity of the opposition, the unity of Tonse, the unity of PF, will actually become the enemies of the Zambian people. I am very confident that we'll find each other. The teething issues, the ego issues, the greed issues, the over-ambitiousness and all those issues will be faced squarely. Of course, not in a manner that we begin to embarrass each other, but I think in a manner that will be to build so that we can arrive soonest at a place where Zambian people begin to relax, that they now have a clear alternative leadership. It's not just an individual, a set of leaders that will be able to direct the right direction.
I'm happy you use these words yourself to say egos, greed amongst yourselves. And the Zambian people in 2021 voted out the PF exactly because of those same things. So again, if you're admitting that there's that still happening, why should they be looking at you for 2026?
You know, we are all human beings. The values we are talking about have to be believed, have to be appreciated. The reason why...
Don't those values have to show?
No, I think they are showing.
What has changed?
What has changed is that some of the things that for which PF, for example, was voted out of office are alien now to the party. Okay? And the issue about ambition is a silver line because each individual enjoys a democratic right to offer themselves for leadership. You can't take that away. Okay? But in doing so, you have to regulate or function within the rules and regulations that you have set for yourselves and for everybody to go through.
If you say what has changed is democracy and every individual is free to express their voices, those sad pictures we saw of youths, or is it thugs harassing Sean Tembo at his residence, that's the democracy you talk about?
No, I think I did condemn that, and we are, I think, concluding investigating what happened, what actually took place at the event. And I did take responsibility as Secretary General because some of the people were there are non-youths.
Those are non-PF members?
Yes, and are non-PF youths.
So what has changed then? It's the same violent PF? No.
I think you have to be careful. I don't think you saw any panga there.
No.
Did he say?
If you trespass at someone's home to stop them from having a meeting...
I'm not going to try and justify...
Violently. No. And I'm just saying, isn't that what the people said they didn't want in 2021? That's
why I'm saying that it has been condemned. But I want you to also examine what happened in the right context in view of our historical, events that were very...
Because there was no panga, it's okay?
No. First of all, I've started by condemning and taking responsibility as Secretary General. Respect that. Now, if we are going to make comparison with what was condemned, you understand, it's not because we're trying to justify. I'm just saying that I am happy that the youths did not go with weapons. They went, and from the little video I saw, they went basically engaging the leaders to say, why are we creating confusion and I think attempting to disrupt. And one of them, I think, issues a statement, and I challenged that youth leader to come and give me a report, which report I think by Monday I should be able to have, and more actions will be taken. But all I'm saying is that element we have nipped in the bag, and today we're not going to justify, as PF, any action of violence, either from the youth or among ourselves. One of the other ugly things that we have to insulate and not allow to emerge in PF, especially during this transition, is sentiments that border on ethnicism, tribalism, and so on. Because, sometimes you find it's a little sad. You find that those that have chosen to defy the directive that is not posture, you can read, without saying, because, for example, pictures speak 1,000, give 1,000 messages, as people have said. You can see that here, when you turn it like this and turn it like this, it connects some kind of, tribal alliance. It should not be encouraged. Because what becomes a full-blown cancer in an organization starts as a little thing that you ignore. If you don't nip it in the bag, it grows, the sentiments grows, the discussions grows. Tomorrow, PF is discussing tribe around succession in the party. And that we are saying it cannot be tolerated. PF is a national party that accommodates everybody. Those who want to ascend to presidents and those who support them, give us just the qualities that you see in them, so that we can buy in the qualities.
So while all these things are happening, 2 weeks ago, the government released the 2026 budget, and the PF, unfortunately, is busy fighting its own battles. We haven't seen an alternative, to this budget, as it's supposed to be for an opposition party or a party in waiting. There's a 2026 budget. We haven't seen an alternate budget.
We are privileged, Mr. Manson, like other political parties. We are privileged to have members of parliament who have direct access to express the views of Patriotic Front on the floor of parliament. Right now, parliament has...
But that's not an alternate budget.
Listen, alternative is not just presenting a document, a frame of a budget. Alternatives can also be, articulated by criticizing each policy statement that the Minister of Finance made on the floor.
That's just criticizing?
No, but in criticizing, you also provide the alternative. If we're in government as PF, this is how we would undertake.
That's why I'm asking for an alternate budget, because people want to see that if you claim this is not working, this is how we will do it. And unfortunately, to tell you, I do watch the debates of Parliament, and when you say that you're providing critical checks and balances, unfortunately the people are let down because very few of your members do that.
Well, maybe
very few of your members do that.
It's a given, but maybe what I should admit is that in terms of presenting the alternative budget in full, that we have not done. But in terms of providing checks and balances and solutions on the floor of Parliament, whether few or many, that is being done. And we, as a political party, do caucus with our members of Parliament and make inputs.
And that's your comfort, that as long as you can only criticize on the floor of Parliament, then that's what an opposition should be able to do?
Maybe, Mr. Mwansa, the other aspect that I should bring on to the fore is that we're definitely going to be addressing ourselves to the budget as Patriotic Front. We do have a set of people that deal with issues of finance, they deal with issues of budgeting, deal with issues of the economy, who act and analyzing the budget. These comments off the cuff have only ended up in the realm of politicking. And politicking by just exchanging political sentiments. I think what you are asking for is more deeper than that. And I think that is what...
You made mention earlier that you had a 2021 to 2026 manifesto or a blueprint as a party, but the people didn't believe in that message and they voted the Patriotic Front out. In as much as you're saying that the UPND made promises and they've lied to people and they've not fulfilled those promises, do you have a set list of promises, 2026 to 2031, that you can give to the Zambian people on how you will clean the damage or the mess that you say the UPND have created?
Yes, we're working on that. Because
you don't have yet?
No.
10 months before an election?
No, Miss.
It's a simple question.
Yeah, I mean, the cycle of any government is 5 years. Okay? And in the 5 years, we've been able to analyze the performance of these people in relation to our own manifesto, which was 2020 to 2026. The work we have, unlike other political parties, basically to look at our manifestos is too relevant. Because had our friends performed to a certain degree, possibly adjustment would have been progressive. But now, our adjustment is to even have certain things repaired. So we are working on the manifesto to respond, first of all, to these 5 years, which is basically has been a wasted 5 years. Only to the fact that they have been able to damage.
So you have no message at the moment?
No, we do have a message, my brother.
And that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
You can't say you need to analyze their 5 years. And I keep on saying to you...
We have been analyzing and...
When should the Zambian people begin to test you on the message? Okay. In August next year?
Because we are definitely going to have a conference which is supposed to also play the role of adopting our manifesto, the role of adopting a policy document. I'm just being decent to entertain your questions because I'm saying, as Secretary General, I cannot start preempting things which are supposed to then be formally adopted and becomes the template for the political party moving forward.
Well, if you feel you're being decent, when I ask on behalf of the Zambians, you feel it's not decent enough for the Zambians to know how you're going to provide power and cost-effective fuel, cheap food? It's not decent for the Zambians?
No, but we have been articulating our position from 2021 to 2026.
But you are not the people refused that manifesto. You were voted out.
No. But don't start when you say the people refused. How is it that they are now missing us? They are missing us because the alternatives that we are providing are proving to be more potent.
This is why I'm saying probably you are in an illusion. How do you feel that people miss you when you have no message?
I don't know between the two of us who's in an illusion. Are you sure I'm not hearing people saying about it?
Well, Honorable Nakachinda, for me it's very simple. Do you feel that Zambians right now are at the verge of basically voting a party out and just vote in somebody to say without a message?
No.
Is that your comfort? That even if you have no plan,
you are failing to appreciate the depth of what I'm saying. Actually, you're being selective because when I say we have had a manifesto for 2021 to 2026, you are saying it was rejected. Then I come and answer you that, but the Zambian people miss us with our message because it was presented to them.
Well, the simple question is, how would you still insist on a manifesto which runs up to 2026? Shouldn't we be talking about a manifesto for the future because an election is in 2026?
Because from 2021 to now, our job was to compare and contrast. These people have a set of promises that they have given you. Misaka and Echelema was, giving every day. And we gave you these, promises that you rejected. Look at these fantastic promises and the misery they have brought. Look, this is how it would have worked. Now we're getting to the election year. I am telling you that the process of, tweaking the manifesto to suit the current situation and project to the future is being worked on to be adopted at the conference. Had we held the conference this week, next week, those documents would have been adopted. That's a process within PF. It's not for me to come here and start articulating my personal views. I have them, but
the truth is that you don't have a message right now for the people.
The message that we've had so far has been to compare and contrast based on our manifesto that was prepared to run between 2021 to 2026. And I can tell you, UPND has lamentably failed, and our so-called rejected manifesto has proven to have been the one that could have worked in this period of 5 years. Moving forward in casting the vision and a mechanism through which we can deliver for that vision to be actualized is what we, in a few months, will be concluding.
Is what you don't have at the moment?
No, we do have, but we're working on it to be completed and adopted.
Let me not to preempt you, but as the biggest opposition party, you should be knowing by now that the 2021 election had a difference of 1 million votes, largely created by young people. The election demographic, when you look at Zamstats and everything and what the ECZ is projecting to have 3.5 million new voters, again is young people. Their hopes and their ambitions are very different from what was in the past. I think they are looking at issues around the digital economy, artificial intelligence, technology, and so on. What is your message to young people?
I think the message to the young people is that having been greatly disappointed and issues of course, jobs, issues of, opportunities for to better themselves by way of education and the distortion around that, which I think now they're beginning to see that the policies of our friends are not really working. We have for them, whether it is about technology in the era of AI and all these developments, we are packaging for them policies which will be able to answer to their needs and aspiration. But the starting point for us as Patriotic Front is that we are embracing more of young people in the ranks and file of our leadership, from the grassroots up to the highest level, so that they are not only handed whether it is policies or indeed fruits of those policies, as always a gift, would want them to participate in the governance of this country, starting with them being participants in the political party. So when you look at the appointments in the Central Committee and at all levels in terms of the structure arrangement that we have increased as a Patriotic Front, we are embracing more of young people to participate, more inclined not to cadarism and like they say, activism, but more to do with research. That's how come our structure arrangement for the party from the ward level, actually, branch level, we have incorporated that in every structure there is a research bureau or a committee of researchers. And that is to encourage innovation, to encourage that we are not just politicking for the sake of it. All issues that individuals in a particular locality, they are researched, understood, and are benefiting the multifaceted society that we're in. Young people included, the elderly, the women, and obviously the general community where the men also are involved.
Honorable Nakachinda, thank you so much for talking to me on COS this evening, and we wish you all the best, hoping you will sort out this impasse to provide leadership and a united opposition for the Zambian people.
I'm very, very, very grateful, and I can only say,